Television network A&E recently aired a short-lived TV series called 8 Minutes, which unfortunately is not based on the awesomely horrible Luke Perry film of the same name, but is in fact about prostitutes being quote-unquote saved by a man who offers them the resources they need to leave the prostitution life behind and get a more rewarding job that they can use to then pay for their family and their rent and their food. The only problem with this is that according to the prostitutes in the show, those resources never actually materialized. Also, they say that they were misled, that their identities were released by A&E without their permission, and that they were misrepresented as having been trafficked when some of them say that they were not trafficked, that they entered into prostitution of their own free will. This isn't really surprising if you already know how reality television is made, and it gets even less surprising when you realize that the man who's saving these prostitutes is Kevin Brown, an ex-cop and current pastor who has been doing this sort of thing for quite a while through his church. Brown seems to be following in a long tradition of good-hearted theists who just want to help others, but who unfortunately can only imagine doing that through sharing their religion. Much like organizations such as World Mission, which is fundraising to send 2,000 Bibles to earthquake-ridden Nepal, or the Scientologists who sent Scientologists to earthquake-ridden Haiti, Brown appears to have mixed up his religion and his charity, and he's mistaking one for the other. On a side note, I should mention that there was a recent news story making the rounds about the Gideons sending thousands of Bibles to Nepal. That was made up by a satirical news site. It was very believable, but it was not actually true. Often these religious people don't come just bearing their God. They also bring resources that are desperately needed, like food and water and other types of aid. And so it makes it very difficult to criticize them. But in cases like with Brown, where the God is actually the focal point and the much needed aid never really comes, these people can often leave the victims they're trying to help in worse circumstances, as with the prostitutes, some of whom quit their job and are now struggling to pay rent and afford food for their families. When you combine misguided religious fervor with the all-consuming ratings push of the average basic cable network, you end up with a superstorm of bullshit aimed to take out the people who need our help the most.